Welcome to Holiday Let Insider, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the holiday letting industry. Brought to you by Host Planet and Sykes Holiday Cottages, this show is packed with expert insights, real-world strategies, and actionable advice to help you succeed as a holiday let host. I'm James Varley, the founder of Host Planet, and in each episode we'll dive into key topics like property management, guest experience, and revenue growth, and we'll be joined by industry experts who know what it takes to thrive in this sector. In today's episode, Rachel Brennan will be outlining why holiday let owners should work with an agency instead of going it alone. Are you looking to take the hassle out of holiday letting while setting yourself up for success? With Sykes Holiday Cottages, you benefit from working with a team of real people with vast experience and knowledge, all providing a unique service to support you every step of the way. 11-time consecutive winners of the Best Large Company for UK Holiday Home Rentals at the British Travel Awards, Sykes uses industry-leading pricing systems, dedicated account management, and a network of more than 700 booking partners to help get the most out of your investment. Sykes aims to combine trusted experience with local expertise to help make your holiday let a success. Get in touch today to find out more. Head to sykescottages.co.uk/letyourcottage for further details. Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Holiday Let Insider. Today's special guest is Rachel Brennan, the Senior Manager of Property Onboarding at Sykes Holiday Cottages. How's it going, Rachel?
Hi, really well, thank you.
Excellent. Okay then, straight into it. Why should a holiday let owner consider working with an agency rather than going it alone?
So firstly, it's the marketing power that comes with the agency. So if you think that agency's already got the platforms, already got the systems, already got the audience there. So when you are ready to list, you can then get bookings quickly, and you can get seen fast. So especially when you've just recently renovated or bought, the property and you've spent a fortune, that generation of cash flow is as fast as possible can be something that's really important to owners. The other side of it as well is that it can save you a ton of time. So if it's guest communications, the cleaning, laundry, welcome packs, emergency contacts, maintenance, if you're working a full-time job or you live too far away from the property or you simply just don't want your phone ringing at 11 o'clock at night because the boiler has gone, then that could be a huge win for you as well. The other sort of side to it too is the legal side. Now, this one I do think is a big one. So with an agency, they can stay up to date with any changes for local rules, regulations, license and change and fire regulations, insurances. They can just make sure that you stay in the know and that you're compliant at all times. If you go solo, you can run the risk of either misinterpreting some of those changes, missing those changes, which could be really costly, in the long run if there was fines or anything like that incurred. Other sort of side of it is financially. I think a bit of a myth when it comes to it is that going it alone will save you money. And I've got sort of two reasons of why, I think that isn't always correct. The first one being is that you need multiple platforms to ensure that you're getting the right audience for you. All of these platforms have got specialisms. They've got an area of expertise. So whether it is in the last break market, whether it is in a short break market, long stays, parties, you've got to make sure that you're on all the right sites. So when you go with an agency, you're normally not just going on that one listing, on that one website, you're going on to several others. I know with someone like ourselves, we've got over 700 partner websites that we can utilize. So it's just making sure that you're getting seen on every single one. If you go it alone, to put yourself on all of those, again, could be really costly to incur that way. Usually it's all covered within the marketing costs and the one commission that you pay for that booking. Secondly, normally an agency's got quite clever sort of pricing tools that they use. So that keeps your pricing up to date with any changes in the market, any shifts in demand. That'll make sure that you are getting the best possible price at any time. And lastly, it would be on guest experience. So when you go with an agency, they've usually got the slick professional processes already in place that means that your guests will have a fantastic stay. And a lot of people think that, the holiday starts, the moment that they walk through the door of the property. It doesn't. It starts at the time of searching. It starts at the time of booking. So that experience of finding that holiday, how easy it was to confirm the booking, take payment, that all adds to that customer's experience. So if that experience is a good one, that will lead to fantastic bookings and then hopefully lead to some repeat bookers for you. So really, when you look at it of the saving in time, energy, efforts, reducing the risk as much as possible, that is some of the main reasons as to why going with an agency might be a more suitable option than just going it alone.
I must admit that is a very convincing argument. I was almost signing up mid answer. So what kind of support does an agency like Sykes provide to owners on a day-by-day basis?
Yeah, so the marketing and booking is certainly one. So as I've just alluded to there, you're not just going onto one website, you are going on to lots of others. And that includes some of the big names out there as well. So like Airbnb, Booking.com, Vrbo, Expedia. So you'll go on to all of the websites that are right for your property, and then they'll be used to boost sort of bookings and audiences where you need to. So Sykes would then be the ones that would manage all the availabilities, all the syncing of calendars, all the customer sort of communications, take all of the payments, confirming all the bookings for you. So that can be a real benefit if you don't want to be sat just with your phone and juggling bookings constantly. So that's a big one on a daily basis. And then other ones to that is the guest communication. So whether it is pre, post, or during the holiday, we even offer things like an emergency contact line for both owners and customers. So if there is any in-holiday queries that they have, then there's a 24-hour, 7 days a week hotline that they can use. We can support with the practical things too. So very much can build a package to suit an owner's needs. So they can be as hands-on or as hands-off as they want. But if they do live quite far away from the property and they're thinking logistically, how am I going to manage this? We can either offer in-house provisions within our local offices, which we've got dotted all around the UK, or we can put you in contact with a network of preferred suppliers. So that's all the cleaning, laundry, maintenance side of things. And then we've also got lots and lots of contact details for contractors, trades. So you can always get some great discounts and exclusive discounts for owners on there too. So whether it is a discount on a hot tub, a sauna, a log burner, or a wicker basket for your welcome packs, or 10% off in B&Q, there's always some great perks to be in with a company like ourselves too. A big bonus is the owner portal and our owner app, because it just means that you have everything at your fingertips. So if you're wanting to see or check in on how your bookings are going, check in on reviews, see any of your payments that could be due, everything is there. But probably the biggest one that I would say from a day-to-day basis is that every owner gets a dedicated account manager when they join Sykes. So you will have a dedicated person who is there, and they're part of it's called our owner success team. They are there to make you successful. They are there to make sure that you're getting as many bookings as you possibly can, that the pricing's right, that the quality is right there as well. So they're there to go through reviews with you. So if there is any tweaks or changes that's needed, you're almost in a partnership rather than just a business or platform that you're using. You're working together to a shared goal.
I mean, it can be completely hands off, like you were saying there. If somebody lives abroad, like I did when I bought my first holiday let, if you're working with Sykes and you want a totally hands off experience, would you just hear from Sykes kind of, monthly to say, here's the revenue or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. So, dependent on, as I said, your own individual needs, you can build that package to suit your needs. So if you want to be hands-on, then you certainly can be, and you can get involved with welcoming the guests there. You can get involved with the beautiful welcome packs that you leave, even guest communication. So that app that I've just talked about, that's great because you can schedule a welcome email, you can schedule, sort of something when they leave, or you can respond to reviews. But then for owners that really just want to go, they're the keys. They can have it, that the only time they hear from us is when they receive their statement and then their payment every month. So we can, as I said, build a package to suit the needs of that individual owner.
We've touched on this a bit, but how involved is Sykes when it comes to things like guest communication, cleaning, maintenance, and importantly as well, pricing decisions. When Sykes take over, do you decide what the nightly rate should be, or is an owner saying, I'm only willing to let my property for X amount?
Yeah, so ultimately, it's the owner's property. So the owner has to stay at the centre of it. The owner has to stay in control. They are very much in the driving seat here. And we are simply there to guide, support, and just offer all of the sort of do's and don'ts and the things that we've learned along the way. So with all of that, we are heavily involved. We are, in most cases, the main contact for the holiday maker. But as I said, an owner can get involved as much as they wish. So to some people, even the thought of pricing is really scary and overwhelming, that they just don't know where to start. So they need us to be able to come in to use the sort of all of the analytics that we have, all of the sort of competitor rates that we have, knowing, the market as well as we do. They need us to be able to help with that start and block pricing of where they should enter the market at, compared to others that may have been doing it for a while, are experienced, that know exactly what works for their property already. They can come in with that already decided. So if you're that case, then we welcome that. Of course, we would still share, our recommendations and guidance if that differs from your own, but the owner's at the heart of it. The owner is very much, as I said, they're the driver in all of this.
Talk us through the onboarding process. If somebody gets in touch and says, right, here's my property, I want to work with you, what happens next?
Yeah, so it starts with a phone call, an email, or even just a completed, inquiry form online. And what will happen is then you get a call from one of my team there. So they will call just initially to gather some property information, gather some information about yourself. At that point, we'll be sort of determining how ready you are and how quickly you want to go. What pace do you want to go? So some of our owners will come on and say, get me live today. I've done everything. I want to start earning money, open the doors, let the tills ring, and we can work with you, to a pace that really suits your needs. So we can then start to build your listing. So some owners might come on with, as you said, the pricing in mind. They might come on with photos that they already have, and a description that they're already really proud of and happy with. We can just take all of that and then build your listing and then get you live the same day. But for other owners, and they are the majority of them, they need to go at a much slower pace. They need more nurturing, more guidance. They need to be handheld. So for those owners, we would recommend booking in. It's a completely free of charge, no obligation site visit with a local property consultant. They're there to meet you at the property, go through the property with you. So that could be any sort of advice on the final sort of furniture that could be needed, on the setup of the property. They could help you with things like compliance for health and safety and regulations and all of those. They can go through any questions or queries that you've got or any concerns that you have. And then once you're ready, you can sign an agreement with us to then list. All the professional photography is done through ourselves, unless, as I said, the owner had something that they were already, proud of. But all the professional photography is done. All the expert written description is done for us, that we will continue to optimize as you're live as well. So it's go at your own pace, but that's what it looks like when you come through.
If somebody switches from running their own rental to then working with Sykes, what tends to be the difference in visibility, first of all, and booking rates? Do you notice a big improvement when somebody's been doing it themselves when they come over to work with you?
Yeah, firstly, so it's the reach, predominantly. So if you think about, we're a national brand, that has got, heavily invested in lots of, including social media, SEO, and all of this targeted advertisements, especially when it comes to our customer database, it's huge. So we've got loyalty schemes, we've got a rebook rate of 55%. So we're constantly going out with individual and targeted information to get them to come back to us time and time again. So, when a new property comes on, those rebookers, they like to know what's new to market, which is huge. As I said, it's not just the one website that you're going on. And it is almost the manipulation that you can use of those availability as well. So if I just compare, for example, ourselves to something like Airbnb and Booking.com, they work well with that lower, lower lead time to booking. So they do really well in that short break, last minute market. So we're not necessarily going to open up that full availability years and years in advance, whereas we know someone like ourselves can be king when it comes to the week and comes to those sort of holiday makers that are booking with a much longer sort of lead time with that. So it's also not only putting you on those platforms, but knowing how to market you on that platforms, know when to turn on and push hard, know when to turn off and potentially go to somewhere else. So when you compare as well as somebody doing it alone or even with a local, sort of agency, they can struggle because you're then in a market which is much more saturated to that local area. And we know that a lot of holidaymakers start with quite general inquiries when they first inquire with us. So they could come on with knowing that they want to go to, the countryside. We've got the ability to actually cross-sell from those huge markets into those areas. Because if you are doing it on your own or you're with a local agency, they're all just in that localised audience that you're trying to compete for with lots of others in that region. So that can be something that can be a huge advantage too. And then the other bits that I'd sort of touch on is the trust element that comes to it, from an agency that, has this huge visibility and really a household name. That trust starts to come through, that customers want to book with a company that they trust, that they know, that's been going around for years and years, that they're comfortable with their booking policies and processes, that they feel secure when they book. So that can also lead to guest confidence, which again can just increase on bookings.
Talk to us about your approach to revenue management. There'll be a lot of people out there, hosts and owners, who are perhaps using dynamic pricing. Is that something that Sykes uses? And also, in terms of your revenue strategy, do you often have to have conversations with owners and say, look, we need to tweak your rates a little bit. We need to maybe bring them down a little bit to get more demand?
Yeah, so you mentioned nightly rates before. So our pricing sort of strategy really starts from that starting block price and the price that you're entering the market at. So you, as I said, you mentioned nightly, which we work with something that's weekly. So when it comes to short breaks, they are the proportion, percentage of the weekly rental that we deem fit within the demand that's out there. So for example, if somebody was going for a short break starting on a Friday, they may be paying, much closer to the weekly rental than, for example, somebody who is starting midweek, on a sort of Monday, Tuesday, and they could be paying a lower percentage for that. So when it comes to dynamic pricing, we use the term revenue management. So it's income maximization that we're using for. And that does give us the ability to increase prices, to an unlimited amount where we deem fit, where we deem the demand, but also reduce to an agreed amount. So where you mentioned that is the lots of conversations happening, we've already sort of set those guidelines and guidance with owners at the time of onboarding. And sometimes their preferences do change, throughout their course with us. Some people can come on with sort of set rates of being fixed, which we know in this sort of dynamic just doesn't work. We know that those price changes, are really important to help with those occupancy and booking levels. Other owners can choose to only increase their prices only, and then others can choose an unlimited reduction to sort of 10% or potentially even 20% of that. And then based on our modifiers, based on where we see the demand going, then we will start to change those prices accordingly. So, it wasn't that long ago that we just had a couple of extra bank holidays, introduced. So what happens? They flock to the website or the fantastic weather that we've been experiencing. The change in customer behavior is huge, and we're able to deal with that in real time. So when I look at how many price changes we do, there are millions each year. And when you break that down per property, it's around 1,000 price changes per property per year. So it's a huge job. We've certainly got the systems and tools to do that, but we've got a fantastic team that actually eyeball all of those changes too. So there is a human element to it that can just make sure that, as I said, you're getting the best price at any time of booking.
Yeah, you don't want to be leaving money on the table. We've touched on this a little bit as well, but just talk to us about the advantage of working with a nationally recognised brand like Sykes in terms of the guest confidence, trust, and of course getting those all important repeat bookings.
So trust and credibility is huge. We said that earlier. To go with a brand that is well known, that has been around for years and years, it's become a bit of a household name, is huge. And reputation is everything. The best type of marketing is word of mouth, right? So to have those reviews is so important. And to be with a company that is centered around customer service, is huge. And as part of a lot of the sort of initial inquiries that you get, you are going to speak to some of the best sort of salespeople out there that are going to tell you, why their company is potentially the best out there. And we really do let our reviews, our awards, our successes, speak for us instead of just the salespeople. So when I think to the British Travel Awards, Sykes has been voted for the best large self-cater and holiday letting agency out there for 11 years in a row. And that is voted for by customers and by owners alike. So we've got to be doing something right. We've just been nominated. So hopefully number 12 is on its way towards the end of this year. But equally, when it comes to the awards that we've received in finance, when you look at the awards that we received in technology, also recently nationally recognised for the leadership awards within our contact centre as well. So it's all of these things where all of this trust is built into it. Another one is the B Corp as well. I think that is a huge one that Sykes has recognised, B Corp company. And that just means that we are really pledging, to be sustainable. So when you partner with us or when you book with us, you're not just going with a company that is doing well. They're also doing good. They're doing good in their local communities and wider communities. They're doing the right thing. So I think trust is huge. And as I said, that rebook rate of 55% is evidence to that. That is the making of all of that.
Super, very impressive, especially with all the awards. What would you say to owners out there who are feeling a bit overwhelmed? Perhaps they've been trying to run the rental themselves, or perhaps they're with another agency and it's just not quite working out. What do you say to them about potentially switching to Sykes?
Yeah, so I think feeling overwhelmed is quite a normal feeling to have, especially when you've got no one to share those concerns with. I think that's huge. To know that you've got a support network is big. The one thing I'd say is to not let that phase you to get out of the game completely, because this really is a lucrative market, but it's a market that does fantastic things. For holiday makers, you are helping them make memories. You are helping them break away from sort of the stresses of everyday life. Don't just break away from that from one or two sort of bad experiences, and don't brush, almost the same agency or the industry, almost with the same brush. It's trying something new. It's looking out there that there's an agency, one, that can ensure that they are getting the right revenue for you. And that is starting off with a projection in terms of earnings that is actually achievable, that is not over-egged or, price signs just to get you through the door, that they can actually go and deliver those booking levels, that they can deliver that income for you, because it's got to be viable at the end of the day. But also a company that, is right for your morals, the company that's got those customers at heart, and a company that that, if you need them, you can pick up the phone and call. And if a customer needs them, that they're equally there. So I just say, what have you got to lose by doing an inquiry? As I said, that visit is completely free of charge and with no obligation. And that is the right type of owner to have one of those site visits, the one that wants to go at their own pace, go a little bit slower, ask all the right questions. Just book it in. It's an hour, maybe an hour and a half of your time, and you can make an informed decision on whether, leaving the industry entirely is the right thing for you, or whether switching might be best.
And I know there's a sliding scale, but what should owners expect to pay in terms of commission to Sykes?
So it ranges depending on the level of flexibility that the owners need. So for owners who are able to commit a full calendar to us, so if they're using it purely for holiday letting only, it can range from 18 to 22%, depending on the property plus VAT.
Excellent. Okay. And where people can find out more information if they're interested in working with Sykes?
So pick up the phone, call. So I know a lot of the contact details, you will have stored there, but 01244 345 700. Also, you can email us. So that's propertyexperts@sykescottages.co.uk, or simply visit the website. So www.sykescottages.com, and go onto the Let Your Property side of things. That's where you'll be able to complete the inquiry, and then we'll get one of the team to give you a call and book that in.
Excellent. And we will put all those details in the show notes in case people want to get in touch. Rachel, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for chatting to us on the latest Holiday Let Insider.
Thank you so much. Bye now.
Great to chat to Rachel Brennan there from Sykes Holiday Cottages. Remember, if you want extra exposure and repeat bookings from a trusted brand, Sykes is a superb option. Head to sykescottages.co.uk/letyourcottage to get in touch with their team. All right, that's it for today's episode. For more free education, tips and trends from the STR industry, visit houseplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download a suite of ebooks for hosts and property managers. That's it for today's edition of Holiday Let Insider. Until next time, happy hosting.